The most fundamental skill almost every pro has perfected in order to be as good as they are at first-person shooters is aim. I'm sure you've heard it before. Download aim labs when you've whiffed half your mag on a guy standing still. Don't worry, we've all been there. But good aim isn't just as simple as playing grid shot for 3 hours a day, or having an absurdly long warm-up routine, or spam queuing deathmatches. Aim is much more nuanced than that, and today, I'm here to explain everything you need to know about what actually makes your aim good. Aiming has 4 main aspects which you need to nail to have incredible aim. Microflex, macroflex, tracking, and target switching. Microflex are what most people think of when you mention good aim. Those clips where your favourite pro moves their crosshair 180 degrees and shoots a guy out the sky. They're really important for players with a flick-heavy playstyle, who generally use high sensitivities and play games like Fortnite or the Finals, where speed and awareness are everything. But what many people forget to mention is microflex, the small adjustment you need to make after the initial flick in order to hit the target. Being able to quickly and consistently hit these small micro adjustments is arguably the most important part of a player's aim across all types of first-person shooters, and it can be the difference between dying or getting a kill. A fantastic example of good micro adjustments is Yay, a Valorant player who's known for being incredibly methodical and precise with their aim. Micro adjustments mainly reward players who have good crosshair placement and don't need to make large flexes frequently. Slower paced games with low time to kill such as Valorant tend to reward the same style, where one shot can change the outcome of an entire game. Tracking is the ability to follow your opponent's movements consistently with your crosshair. This part of aim, when performed well, looks incredibly smooth, almost as if you know exactly where the opponent's going to go next. Games such as Apex Legends with fast movement speed reward good tracking, as this can often be the difference between dying or getting a kill. Tracking often has less reward in games with very low time to kill, however that's not to say it's completely useless either. The final fundamental part of aim is target switching, the ability to flick from one target to the next, incredibly quickly and smoothly. This is one of the most transferable skills, as many first-person shooters have situations where players end up fighting multiple opponents at once. Now that that's out the way, let's talk about grip types. This is one of the key factors that affects your aim style. There is 3 main grip types that I need you to remember: palm, claw, and fingertip grips. Palm grip is by far the most common grip type, as it's generally the most comfortable, where your hand lies flat and your palm is at the back of the mouse. This grip type is mostly used on large mice and utilizes the wrist, arm, forearm, and even shoulder and low sensitivities. This grip type is really stable, however players can often struggle with vertical movement and tracking. Fingertip grip, on the other hand, is mostly used on smaller mice, where precision is the most important. The reason this grip is often used is because it has the most motor control, meaning players can make accurate shots and track enemies way more consistently. The biggest downside to this grip, however, is that it's very unstable, as your finger's weight is unsupported, and this can cause discomfort during prolonged sessions. The last grip type you should consider is claw grip. This grip is the most balanced grip type, but doesn't necessarily excel at either control or flicks compared to other grip types. The reason it's most used across high-level players is because it's very consistent, and offers almost all the benefits of palm grip without limiting the verticality. Another benefit of claw grip is that players often find their shots are slightly faster, as their fingers are more prepared to shoot. When it comes to sensitivity, you've probably heard of EDPI before. EDPI, or effective dots per inch, is your sensitivity multiplied by your DPI, and refers to what your sense feels like for that specific game. It's important to note that this number does not compare across multiple games, and to get an accurate comparison, you should either use a sensitivity converter, or find your centimeter per 360 value. In games like Valorant, the average EDPI across most professional players is 140 to 300 EDPI. This is a slow to medium speed, where the centimeter per 360 value is approximately 65. To compare, a game such as Fortnite has a centimeter per 360 value of 20.3. This means that on average, a Fortnite player has over triple a Valorant player's sensitivity, because the lower the centimeter per 360 value is, the higher the sensitivity is. One of the biggest misconceptions I see when it comes to aim is the argument that you shouldn't change your sensitivity because of muscle memory. While this is technically correct, there's no such thing as real muscle memory when it comes to aim, because every flick is different to some extent. The reason this myth isn't entirely false is because you'll feel comfortable on a sensitivity that you're used to, compared to a sensitivity that you haven't had much practice with. Ultimately, it isn't as bad to change your sensitivity, however you should avoid changing it too frequently to allow yourself to get used to that sense so that it feels more comfortable for you. A good way to find what works well with your grip type and mouse is to practice flicking to a target. If you overflick, lower your sense. If you underflick, increase it. You can use the PSA method calculator to make it easier to find. You should also practice tracking the target as you move to find if you're comfortably controlling your mouse. Another common misconception is the use of angle snapping or raw Excel. Some players like to use these types of softwares to help them make faster adjustments, especially on lower sensitivities. However, they can often be detrimental to your improvement. This is because they make your aim inconsistent and can often lead to missed shots for seemingly no reason. It's best to actively improve the biggest weakness of your aim by using specialized playlists and aim trainers such as Kovacs or Aimlabs, instead of using these softwares as a crutch. One more misconception that I hear frequently is that higher DPI is better because it makes your mouse respond faster. The argument is that you can't fully take advantage of the high polling rate of 8K mice on 800 or 1600 DPI, and so changing your DPI to be higher would be better. This is technically true, but Oblivity's already tested this and found the difference was only 1 to 2 milliseconds, which is negligible even at the highest level. The reason this is bad is because it ruins how comfortable your cursor feels when using your computer and isn't worth dealing with for a negligible decrease in latency. Another really big flaw of this is the mouse battery, because if you're using a wireless mouse and you're trying to use 8K polling rate, the mouse battery will drain much faster, meaning you need to charge that mouse much more frequently. Aim training is one of the most important steps you can take to improve your aim in first-person shooters. Most players use either Aimlabs, which is free, or Kovacs, a paid software which is similar to Aimlabs, but much more customizable. When it comes to aim training, most players get confused on what they should practice and end up only playing tasks they enjoy, like 3x3 grid shot, thinking that they'll get better. But that couldn't be further from the truth. When aim training, a lot of players lack intent. The first step you need to take is finding a playlist which suits your aim style and also focuses on your weaknesses. If you're a player who struggles with precise macro flicks, make sure to find a task with small targets at long range, forcing you to have to make a large flick followed by a micro adjustment to the target. Start off slow and build speed over time, and remember to focus on your accuracy over your speed. Another important part of aim training is keeping yourself consistent and accountable. A lot of players just find random playlists from their favorite pro players, play them for a week, and expect results. But proper aim training that has actual results takes weeks, if not months, to even see the slightest results. Anyway, that's all for this video. I hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one.